Hello everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45 Trading. This week we'll be discussing December 14th to the 18th. Pretty late in December to be looking at the markets. However, I think they're still pretty hot. I think there's probably a little bit more movement that's going to happen. And just FYI, if you haven't, here's the economic calendar. Have a look at this. We have pretty quiet Monday and a pretty quiet Tuesday, but then as far as Wednesday goes, we have a whole bunch of flash manufacturing numbers for the euro and for the pound sterling. We have OPEC news on Wednesday. We've got core retail sales for the US dollar, and then we have and some flash manufacturing, and then we have all the way here, we have their FOMC rate statements. They're going to keep it at a quarter basis point, but this is definitely going to be moving markets. And then we've got a press conference to wrap up the US dollar news at 3:30, and then we've got Aussie high impact unemployment rates and employment changes for that currency. So Wednesday is going to be a busy day in terms of manipulation. There's going to be a lot of movement, probably a lot of volatility. So if I were you, I would highly recommend staying out of the markets on Wednesday. If you're even trading this late in the game, I don't know. And then we've got, starting off Thursday, we have another monetary policy statement, this one for the pound sterling. Again, they're not anticipating any changes in that rate at all. And then we have a smattering of medium impact news events for the US dollar as well. And then Friday, it's a pretty quiet day, a lot of medium news impacts, and except for this guy here, have a look at this guy right here. They're doing these stress tests now over, this is market close here. Interesting, they're doing it Friday, December 18th. Technically, you know, last week of trading really right before Christmas. Significant week anyway, and they're doing stress tests, so that's pretty interesting. I think we're going to probably see a little bit of movement there once they realize everything fails. And then next week as well, so I won't be doing, I'll get into that here in a second, but I won't be doing a video for you guys next week, but just keep your eye on this one. This is, I found quite interesting as well too. On Wednesday of next week, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, they have a Treasury currency report, and this report basically goes into who is the manipulating currency country out there. So whatever country that has a currency, which ones are manipulating the most and pretty much the worst offenders. Very interesting report. I didn't know that there was anything like this, to be honest with you. That's the first time I've seen it. They've had it a few times, obviously, in the past few years, but just keep your eye on that. That could be a mover. What I personally believe, and this is just my own personal belief, is that, or personal thought, I should say, is that they're going to really move the markets. And I mean, probably a lot of the markets, not all of them maybe, but a lot of the markets, commodity markets, a lot of Forex markets, stock markets. I can't speak as to that one. Whether or not there's going to be a lot of activity there, but maybe some of the major, you know, stock indices and things like that. I think they're going to really move them, though. I think they're going to see some pretty serious institutional sponsorship, and while everybody's at home eating turkey and, you know, enjoying Christmas, they're going to come out and they're probably going to smash things around. So that just may not happen. It's just kind of a feeling I got. I don't know. And then next week, obviously, other than that, it's going to be a quiet week, rightly so. Everybody should be taking off and just enjoying their families and not looking at the markets at all this week. To be honest with you, you know, Monday, Tuesday, I'll be probably looking at the markets pretty closely, and then I'll be watching them on Wednesday to see what kind of crazy price fluctuations we get from all of this news. But that'll be about it for me. I don't personally feel the need to be trading or doing anything past that. I've got a couple of markets that I'm watching personally going into next year. And by the way, I just released a commodity video for all my members, and if anybody wants to take a look at that, please go ahead and reach out to me at F45 Trading on Twitter, and you can check that out. Ask me about it, and I'd be happy to send it off to you. So here's the thing. Going forward, so this will be my last market forecast of the year, and I won't be doing really anything after Tuesday this week. So for all my members, I'll see you in the chat room Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that'll be about it for me. I'm going to wrap it up for the year, take it easy. And so the next recording, the next weekly look ahead, probably will not be until mid-January. Probably the 10th of January, I would imagine, is when I'll get serious about the market and into the markets again and having a look at what we've got. I'm not going to be doing anything the first week of January from the 3rd to the 9th, the 4th to the 8th, I mean, the Monday to the Friday there. And then I'll probably, like I say, get back to a market review, the same as usual, starting the 10th of January, okay? So just give you that heads up. There won't be anything for me to come for after this one here for about the next 3 weeks or so, because I'm going to be relaxing. It's been a very hectic, busy year. A lot of crazy stuff happening, obviously, as everybody well knows. And I'm going to take a little bit of downtime to study and do a little markets review, and a lot of time with my family, of course. Going to eat some turkey and have a few drinks and relax. Is what my plan is. So maybe catch up on some movies that I missed throughout the year because I was working. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that being said, I will be around, of course. So if you need me, just go ahead and reach out to me via Twitter or for any member, obviously, in the chat room. I'll be watching that as well, too. And away we go. So anyway, real quick, I'm not going to take much time on this one here. US dollar, obviously, we had a big decline, and early last week, we had the upper range of the target hit on the downside that I was looking for. So 90.45 was the low, and it just coincides with an old low back in here, and it actually ran that low by about 2 pipettes, so just barely got it, and then now we're into consolidation. So this week here, I'm not, we'll probably see more downside continuation lower, especially after all those FOMC news events happen. I kind of want to see them stay below this range here. They may want to shoot higher and try to, let me zoom in one more time here, try to get above this high here, but I think for the most part, pretty balanced price range in here. If we start going any higher than this level in here, then I'm going to be a little bit suspect on that and say they may be pricing in a short-term reversal. Only because we got a couple of highs in here that they really didn't take out. They took out all of these interim highs here with this brief run up there, and then they just kind of fell off. So all I'm saying there is if we get above this level in here, watch out, because they could want to run for here, and then ultimately maybe these guys in here, and try to come back up into this range up in here. But it's pretty unlikely. That could be way off in the horizon. To be quite honest with you, I think there's more of a likelihood that we're going to continue to press down and try to get under this low here. If we get under these lows here, and I'm not saying this is going to happen before the end of the year, it could. Like I say, I think there's going to be a lot of manipulation happening over those 2 weeks of right before Christmas and right after Christmas, between New Year's. But I'm not going to suggest that they're definitely going to be down under these areas here, but watch out for that if they do. I am expecting further downside to continue. So anyway, that's it for the dollar. Looking for continued continued decline on the dollar. So far, we've just been in sideways, market action now for about the past 5, 6 days now. We gapped down a little bit now to start the week here. At the time of this recording, it's about midnight, New York time, Sunday evening, I guess Monday morning now, and I've seen a little bit of a sell-off there. So what I'd like to see is if they could remain below here. So they could pop up, like I was saying earlier. They could want to pop this up here, run all the stops, and then run over. So watch for them to come in and take this out here. Ideally, though, I think if they were to just come up into here, fill that gap in, or leave it open, that would be even better, and then run south. That's kind of what I'd be looking for. And my only target really on the downside of the week would be the 90-20 levels. I don't anything more than that, I think, would just be wishful thinking. Could happen, but like I say, I wouldn't expect it. So, but definitely a sweep below this low here, as long as we can get out of this consolidation range. But keep your eye on this gap, and then keep your eye, as I say, on those three highs right there. They may want to just quickly run it above like that, just surge it above, and then possibly drop it. So just keep your eye on that that level. EurUsd, I'm going to flip over to that one now. Same consolidation. We had a nice gap up here in price, and they really didn't want to come back and rebalance that range, which is sort of what I was looking for last week. We had a little bit of a decline, pretty short-lived though, and then they just went right back up into the range and basically sat sideways. So not a whole lot to talk about here. On the upside, the level that I was looking at got hit, which was really the low on this candle here. It tagged into that there a couple of weeks ago. So going forward, you know, there's definitely a lot more area up into here where I think they could reach price up into this consolidation level. That would be certainly an area that I would be looking for an upside target. You know, if we get that decline on the dollar, then it should by default pull euro up into there. But again, you know, just look where we've been. Whoops. Just look where we've been here. So big up day, or excuse me, big up week 2 weeks ago, and then last week was an inside range. Couldn't even get above the high from 2 weeks ago, and now we're just kind of still sitting in the range. So they could very well just sit this in a range and go sideways, just like they did here until the new year. So you know, don't be surprised if that happens. But I think in terms of upside potential, I'm still bullish, and I think I'd like to see prices make one more leg higher if we can. You know, if you look at kind of low to high price swings, if they consolidate one more time, then that could possibly bring us, you know, a nice leg right up into that consolidation area here that I was talking about. So that's sort of what I was looking for, but we'll see what they want to give us. At the end of the day, though, as long as price can stay above this line here and not want to trade back down into this price range here from the end of November, I think we should continue to stay bullish. This was a nice stop run here as well, too. After this big run up, they swept prices once, swept prices twice, and then they took price out on the upside there. So I personally think that the downside has probably been run. Although, like I say, it'd be great if they came back down into here to give us a long entry, but you know, I'm not going to anticipate that happening. They'll probably leave that area open. Now, we did have a similar gap to open the week up. This gap has filled. So if you look at that, the gap on euro has closed. However, the gap on US dollar is still remains. So as I mentioned to you before, they may leave this gap open. It would be better if they did, because that would be a more bearish sign to the downside, obviously. And then EurUsd, you could obviously target higher highs from there, which we've got several of them there. And then, of course, we have the upside target around here. So if dollar does not want to come back and fill that void in, or that gap in, it should be a green light to get into euro, and you can pretty much trade this thing higher, you know, up until Wednesday. If you're not in a trade before Wednesday, I certainly wouldn't recommend it, because we're probably going to see a lot of whipsaw. We're probably going to get something like this happen where you know, price fluctuates to the downside and to the upside, and you know, move 100 pips in a range, and you know, in a matter of minutes with some of that news going on. So just be careful of that. GbpUsd, we had a nice decline. Now it actually hit a level that I identified on the chart from a little while ago, and you can see that right here. I'll zoom out a little bit. So you can see these lows here. I had 1, 2 lows here, and you can go back into recordings. I had this on there. As price was moving up, and I was saying to you guys, you know, it was more so the kind of end of November, as we were making these higher lows, higher low, higher low, I said watch out, because we could see a stop sweep lower, and I identified this area here. They had a couple of shallow ones in there, and then I identified that one there. Nonetheless, they swept a couple in here, and then they capitulated higher and really ran for the upside, and then a big sell-off took out all of that. So target 1 was achieved down here, stop run 1, and then I didn't, honestly, I kind of discarded that after they hit this low here. I kind of discarded this and I just left it on my chart just because it's a level that you need to note. But I honestly didn't think that they were going to come back down to that after we had this rally here. I thought we were going to make another high, and then they hammered price down Wednesday, Thursday of last week. Whoops. Well, I shouldn't say Thursday, Friday of last week. They hammered it down, and to be honest with you, I didn't think they were going to come back for that. So that's why you always have to have areas like this noted on your charts. Doesn't matter, as long as they're within about a 3 to 4 month period. Keep them on your charts because they're going to be significant. Case in point right here, obviously. So now we can mark that as complete there. And then, again, we had a big gap up. Actually, it was a pretty big gap up. It was a 140 pip gap to the upside to open up the week. So very impressive on cable. Again, $1 million question, do we come back down and fill this gap in and then possibly run higher? I think I like higher prices on this. We've taken the downside quite nicely and rebalanced into here. So to be honest with you, I think but don't forget, they just took out some major highs as well. So they could certainly cool this market off a little bit. Upside potential, I believe, is right around the 137, about 13700, I think, upside potential. We're at 133 now, so possible 400 pips to the upside if they really want to get things moving. And so far, right out of the gate, they don't look like they're going to be wasting a whole lot of time. So again, I guess at the end of the day, if price can get up into here and through this consolidation level on cable, they'll probably just continue to move this thing higher, and they may not come down and fill this gap right away. So watch for that. But and that would, again, coincide if we don't get a gap fill on dollar. If this doesn't happen and price just falls away, then I think they'll probably end up leaving this gap open as well, and away they go off to the races. Now keep your eye on Euro GBP. Look at this thing. So this thing, I'm expecting this to come down and further sweep. Yes, we had a little bit of a sweep under here, but I'm expecting them to come back and significantly run these lows under here. Everyone's thinking this is support, 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 and they got a nice little price bump in here and in here. But look at this. So this, to me, looks like they've run out of steam to the upside, and they gapped it down. They're going to come back, fill it, and they're going to roll over. We've got equal lows right under here. Keep your eye on there. That's certainly going to be target. They're going to hit that, and then I think they're just going to keep falling off. And as they drop this, it's going to lend more fuel to the fire for GbpUsd to rally higher. So again, we could see a pretty significant run to the upside for some possible targets up here at that 3,700. So again, does it get there before the end of the month? That remains to be seen, but I think, next year for sure we will be up to that 3,700 level. Aussie was, and I mentioned Aussie to you guys a long time ago, that it was very, very strong pair to the upside. I liked it. I didn't really like what it had to do in here, other than that it came back down and rechecked off of this consolidation level, but I didn't really like this price action that we had in this area in here. I thought this was a little bit distracting, I guess, but they're just building positions in for the ultimate run higher. And now, ultimately, this was nice in here. I would have liked to see this type of price action get us up to here. Not this sort of sideways, and for 5 days and then pop up 1 or 2 days, and then sideways for 5 days and pop up 1 or 2 days, and then sideways for 5 and pop, and sideways for 5, and really, so it is really making some pretty serious ground. I just kind of wish that it was traded a little bit better here the last 30 35 days or so. I think it would have been given us a lot better opportunities, really small ranges as well too, and just kind of a 1 day of pop. So slow runner to the upside, but nonetheless it hit some major targets. And I'll let you guys go out to a weekly and do your own analysis on Aussie, but it hit an upside target for me, and so far I'm going to cool off on Aussie, see what it wants to do from here. Had a major run on Thursday of last week. Again, we had some monetary policy news for Aussie. You can go back and check that out, and that was obviously going to be the driver higher into that. And so now the question that I'm looking at, do we come back down and fill this range back in and then continue to the upside, or do we just leave this area open and keep climbing higher? So I'll be watching a little bit on Aussie, but for me, I had my upside potential or upside target on the week, or I guess on the month I should say, hit. And so it could perform higher on Aussie for sure, and I think it will as US dollar continues to drop. But I think for me, it's sort of done what I wanted it to do. And, you know, if it gives us another opportunity, if it does come down here, I might look at entertaining another run higher, another leg up. But I think for the most part, for me, I'm pretty much done with Aussie for this year, and I'll probably leave this one till next year. Same thing with UsCad. So I had this target laid out for you guys last week. I said watch UsCad, 127.25 down to 127.00 is going to be the target that I'm looking for. And I wanted to see price return back higher, just retrace back up into the low of this candle. We pretty much got almost exactly that. And then price shot off last Thursday to the downside. So you know, again, everything was right there to the downside. Perfect target, perfect trade structure, set up, everything done. So hopefully you guys got some of that. I even sent this out to my membership as well too, kind of when price was right in here consolidating. I said I want to see price pop up and then drop, and that's exactly what we got. I said I didn't want it to go any higher than this location. We stayed well under it, and then price fell a good 100 pips. About 125 pips to the downside, hitting that target that I was looking for. And I said I wanted price anywhere in this area, and we got, it was kind of a vague area. I said it could stretch down to 126.75 to the downside, but I said more than likely it'll be somewhere around 127.00 is sort of where we'll finish off. For the weekend, we ended up having a low of 127.07. Excuse me, that was the high. No, that was low, 127.07. So again, perfect trade there. So hopefully some of you guys got that one as well too from last week. You know, again with this pair, I think you know, we do have more room to the downside to move. I think it could cool off a little bit though. I think it could go into consolidation, if not possibly run a little bit higher. Just keep in mind though, with that US dollar monetary policy news next week, that, you know, UsCad will definitely obviously be affected, and we could see some adverse movement on it, i.e. it could pop higher and run back up to fill this range back in here. So don't be surprised if you see that. But again, my downside target has been hit on UsCad, so similar to Aussie, I'm going to leave this pair as well too until next year, and then we'll see what we get after they manipulate it over the Christmas holidays. That's it for Forex. Real briefly, crude oil coming up into a very, very bullish season. Historically speaking, crude oil does tend to drop a little bit the first week or two in January, and then from there it's really off to the races. It sees a pretty significant bull rally for the first couple of quarters of the year, and hopefully some of you are going to be looking to take advantage of it. I'll talk about this a lot more, obviously, going forward. Maybe I'll even clean up my charts here for next year. Get rid of some of this old stuff on here that we don't need, and have a look at it. But you know, nothing yet on this. I think we're going to see higher prices, but again, just watch out. You know, I keep saying this. The downside area, they did come down and stab back down into this consolidation level down here. So we did get that, which is good. I thought they were going to drop it lower. I honestly, I thought that we were going to possibly see them come down underneath this low rate here and possibly try to make a run for that one. And we didn't get that. They just kind of smashed price higher and higher and higher, just ever so gently, till it got above here. And so, you know, congratulations, crude oil. So we'll see if they want to keep prices above and sustain it above this 40, you know, low 40 level, and possibly trading up into the 50s to mid 50s come next quarter, or if they want to smash it down one more time. You know, I am watching, but I'm definitely not buying it from here. I'd like to see them come back down and clean a few levels up if they could, and then we'll possibly see where things go from there. So I'll talk about crude oil again next year, but for now, I'm going to leave this one as I have been saying to you guys, and for all you crude oil traders that are wanting to get in on this, I'm sorry. I'd like to say yes, do this, do that, do the other thing. But this in here, you definitely don't want to trade. This in here, you don't want to trade. And I was looking for lower prices after it dove down here a little bit. And if had we have gotten back down into here, and then we were looking at bullish activity, then we would have been talking about it. And I would have said buy, 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 because this thing's going higher. Didn't get that yet. So we'll see what happens in January, what the first couple of weeks bring us. And then, like I say, I'll be talking about crude oil a lot more. Finally, the last topic of the day, of the year, we go into gold, the metals. So we had a nice surge in here. Side note, I kind of called this low down in here a couple of weeks ago. Go back and watch it. I did mention that this could potentially be the low. Nice surge 2 weeks ago, consolidated for a couple of days, and then a nice big surge again to start off the week last week, and then we had a big decline, and then price went absolutely nowhere Thursday, Friday of last week. Watch out for this. They could drop this. Now, gold and silver both have this area here that I'm sort of looking at. I think there's a possibility that they're going to get below and sweep these lows here. Now, you got to think about this. Everybody is looking at this same thing, right? Low came in, big surge to the upside. Price cooled off a little bit, dropped down, just took out the low there. Another big surge higher. And then they're cooling it off a little bit. Coming back down to the same area in here. So they came down once, twice, 3, 4 times so far in a 2-week period. They're testing that level there. Everybody and their dog is saying, this is support, and they're not going to come below this level right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get long anywhere in here. And I'm just going to go ahead and tuck my stop somewhere underneath these levels, these 1, 2, 3, 4 levels here, because they're obviously defended levels. That's obviously support, and they're not going to come back down and get that. Well, I personally believe otherwise. I think they're going to do exactly that. I think they're going to sweep this sometime this week, maybe FOMC, and then do that. That's what I'm waiting for. So all of my trades that I got in down in here on silver, I got out last week. I didn't get the high, unfortunately, but I sure didn't sell it down here. I sold somewhere right in the middle, and nice little run on silver. Now I'm waiting. I'm going to sit on my hands. I'm going to watch this one and see what we do and see if we get this runner below. Keep your eye on this one. Same thing, gold, exactly the same. There's no difference between these two markets. Looking at this to come back down, sweep these 4 lows in here, and then continue to the upside. Okay? So hopefully we get that. Gold and silver especially. Do your own research on that. Don't take my word for it. I am not a licensed commodity trader or a licensed trade advisor or money manager or anything like that. So these are just my own opinions, of course. Please take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Consult your own professionals. Do your own thinking, folks. But keep your eye on these markets, because I think the first quarter or two of 2001, we are going to see some pretty bullish activity on the metals markets. Okay, that's all for me. I'm going to wrap it up. Another year in the bag. If you've made it this far with me, I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. As always, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share this out. Show me a little bit of love, people. I would really appreciate that. And for everybody who's observing Christmas, I hope you guys have a wonderful, well, Hanukkah, I guess, as well, too, and whatever else you celebrate around this time of year. Hopefully you use the time to better yourself and spend some time with your family, relax, decompress, de-stress, take stock of life, and hit 2021 hard, because it's going to be a great year next year. And I hope you're prepared for it. And I think we're going to see a lot of success, and that's what I wish you guys, is a lot of peace, happiness, and success in the new year. So until I talk to you guys in 2021, take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.